What's on, ladies and gentlemen? My name's Ross, I like games, and today, we got a winning Reaper deck, haven't we? I have been telling you about EX-02 as it's gone and been revealed over on this channel over the past few weeks, and I have made absolutely no secret of the fact that these Reaper things, or ADR, or call them what you will, these are the things that I am most excited about from EX-02. This is what I want to have a good old play around with, and it turns out they are legit, they are good, and they are potentially a top tier deck, and I am delighted. I should mention any translated proxies being used in this video are from the lovely folks over at digimoncard.dev. So obviously, with Reapers, the very first question, and I'm sorry we have to get this before we get to Digitama, how many searchers are we actually playing? 19. Now I hope I'm not miscounting here, but we got 4 rows of 4 and a 3, 4 4s are 16, plus 3 is 19. We have 19 searchers. Now for those of you that may have forgotten, I should remind you at this stage that EX-02 Searcher is one of 2 cards in the game, along with Asmon, that allows you to have up to 50 copies in your deck. Now, it's kind of cool. The first one you play is a 1 cost. It's 3 cost normally, but if you don't have one in play, it's a 1 cost, and you can get them off the field. We'll get to that in a moment. It can't attack players, can attack Digimon, and when you play it, you draw 1, which gives you a little bit of draw as you go through the game, which is clearly a very good thing. And it's not just for that. We're not just playing it for the draw. We're not just playing 19 because we can. We're playing it because it combos a bunch of the other Reapers, or ADR, or call them what you will. I'm going to be calling them Reapers as we go through the game, but you can play 19, and that's pretty good. Now, to go back to Digitama, the Digitama we've actually got here, we're playing 4, and it's because it's Mother D Reaper. And we don't want to play a 5th Digitama, because we only want Mother D Reaper. That's the only one we ever want to see. So, although we can play a 5th Digitama, we're absolutely not going to be. And it's 15,000 power, but we've had the ruling, yes, you can bring it out from the raising area to the battle area. No, you don't need to evolve before you do so. Yes, it can exist in the battle area because it's got a power. And it cannot attack or be affected by your opponent's effects. But once per turn, if you don't have a Mother D Reaper in play, you can place a Searcher in play or in your hand to the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution cards. And then, of course, if you put your only Searcher in play under it, then you can play one as a 1 cost and draw a card, and that's brilliant. And then on your turn, when your Digimon with D Reaper in its traits would be played from your hand, you can reduce the play cost by 1 for each Digivolution card this Digimon has. Only once per turn, but still, that's 1 cheap 1 per turn. Remember, with it being a Digitama, we can't just get cards under there naturally. The only way we're getting cards under Mother D Reaper is using a skill like the one on Mother D Reaper. Obviously, as soon as you have 2 of these in play, you cannot actually put a Searcher underneath them, so that's a decision you're going to have to make as you go through the game. Then what we see is just a whole bunch of other Reapers. So we have ourselves a playset of Bubbles, ADR-04, and it is a security card, and when it comes out as a security, you can put a Searcher from your hand or in play as the bottom Digivolution card of a Mother D Reaper, and when you play it, you can put a Searcher from your hand or in play as the bottom Digivolution card of one of your Mother D Reaper. So we're building up evolution cards under Mother, and of course very important, because every time we clear our board of Searchers, we get to play one as a 1 cost, and it draws us a card. That's clearly a brilliant, brilliant thing. We have a playset of Pendulum Feet. Now I know generally as we go through the videos, we tend to go through by level. Obviously, with none of these having levels, that's not an option. And Pendulum Feet, when you play, you reveal the top 3 cards of your deck, and you add a Digimon with D Reaper in its trait and a Searcher to your hand. Bearing in mind how many of these skills we've already seen that allow you to put Searchers under Digimon from your hand. And yes, obviously Searcher is also a D Reaper, so that means you could potentially get 2 Searchers here. This is really good search. Pendulum Feet is helping us out very nicely indeed. We like it. We then have ourselves a playset of ADR-09 Gatekeeper. Have a full 4 of these. It's a security card that lets you play it without battling, without paying its cost. And when you play, if you've got a Mother D Reaper, you recover 1. And incidentally, there's no limit here, so you can go above your starting 5. And this is actually really cool because, well, you've got recovery, which is lovely, and you can play it as a security while getting that recovery, which is brilliant. On your opponent's turn, when your Mother D Reaper has 6 Digivolution sources or more, all of your opponent's Digimon get security attack -1. And like we've seen, it's not that easy to get all of these searchers underneath Mother, but it's absolutely worth doing it if you can pull it off, and that is a big if, let's be clear, but if you can pull it off, all of your opponent's Digimon get security attack -1. What that means is that unless they've got extra security attack, they can't actually take out any of your security cards, and there is nothing to say that you cannot have more than one of these skills active at once, which means you can. So, in a hypothetical situation which is almost never going to happen, you could have 4 Gatekeeper out and your opponent would have security attack -4. That's hilarious. Of course, they can always take out your Mother, and then the skills would all go away. Now, they're all of the ones we have playsets of, but we also have 2 copies of Pilates Head, and I'm sure that's not how it's pronounced. When you have Mother D Reaper, you can suspend this Digimon to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with power equal to or less than this Digimon's power. So you can take out some nice weak Digimon there, and that's rather lovely and awesome. Now we also have ourselves a couple copies of Yuri here, which is ADR01, or sorry, Jerry in English. And you can suspend this Digimon to reveal 5 cards on top of your deck and place a searcher from among them to the bottom of one of your Mother D Reaper's Digivolution sources. So clearly this is why we have so many searchers in the deck, because we want to hit it with Jerry's skill, and we want to draw it with Pendulum Feet. And now we've got Jerry to put cards under, which is kind of helpful. And then we've got ourselves Bubbles to put it under, which is helpful. Plus, of course, you've got Mother herself, which can put it under. And this hopefully is going to build up quite nicely. Now, we have 3 copies of ADR05 Creep Hands. While you have a Mother D Reaper in play, this Digimon gains Blocker. It's the only blocker, if you're going full Reaper here, it's the only blocker you've got. It'll do, ladies and gentlemen. It'll do quite nicely. And then we've got 2 copies of just Reaper. Now, Reaper is a 20 cost 15,000 power, but you can trash the bottom 7 Digivolution cards from one of your Mother D Reaper to set the play cost to 0. And now, of course, we've seen that having Digivolution cards does work with some of your other skills, so there is a big question here as to how often you want to keep the Digivolution cards and how often you actually want to trash them to play this for free. But it does remain an option. Do remember that Mother can also allow you to play this a little more cheaply, which is clearly a good thing. But it's got Rush. You can attack the turn you come into play, bearing in mind you've got 15,000 power. And when attacking, you can put 2 searchers from your trash to the bottom of this Digimon's Digivolution cards to unsuspend it. And obviously, if you do trash 7 cards from under a Mother, that will put them into your trash, which will then allow you to attack and put them under to unsuspend. You will also notice that Reaper does not say when attacking once per turn. What that means is that you can essentially attack, put searchers under, unsuspend. Attack, if you've still got 2 searchers, you put them under, unsuspend. And for as long as you've still got 2 searchers in your trash, you can keep doing this. And you can keep unsuspending, and you can keep getting extra attacks in a way which is clearly naughty, and you're probably not supposed to be doing so. But even if you look at the Japanese image of the card here, it's clearly missing that text that says once per turn, which incidentally is why you might want to get rid of the Digivolution sources from Mother, because oh my goodness, is it actually worth it. Now, in terms of your tamers here, we do actually have a couple of tamers. They're both yellow tamers, but that's not actually just a coincidence. We've got one option card here, which is yellow as well. So clearly what we're doing is playing the yellow tamers in order to actually allow us to play the yellow option cards as well. Like I say, not a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. Not a coincidence at all. So what we've got is we've got Carry Kamiya. This is the one that came around in BT8. And at the start of your turn, if your memory is 2 or less, you're allowed to set it to 3. And on your turn, when a card is added to your security stack, you can suspend this tamer to gain a memory. Bearing in mind that Gatekeeper does have recovery, so you'll be able to gain memory here or there, which is quite nice. But tamers can be played free from the security. This will make sure you always start with at least 3 memory, etc. I don't know if you're going to get as much use out of this as you will in some yellow decks, but we want some yellow tamers, and this is cool. We are only playing it as a 2-of. But if that's not enough Kari Kamiya, we've also got TK Takaishi and Kari Kamiya from BT6. At the start of your turn, if you have fewer security cards than your opponent, you gain 2 memory. That's kind of handy. And when one of your yellow Digimon attacks, you may suspend this tamer to have one of your opponent's Digimon lose 1,000 power for the turn. Now, we're not playing any yellow Digimon here, so that is never going to activate. We're playing it here because if you've got fewer security than your opponent, you gain 2 memory. Which is clearly the goal here, right? You're going to have fewer security a lot, you gain memory, life is good. Plus, of course, then, this allows you to play, well, honestly, the only option card we actually want to play in the entire deck. It is Spiral Masquerade from BT5, and it says for each of your Digimon, you activate the following effect. One of your opponent's Digimon loses 3,000 power for the turn. Now here, you're going to be playing, you've got some security cards here. You've got 2 different security cards that can be played for free, which is clearly a good thing. And you've got searchers that can be played as a 1 cost. And your Digitama doesn't need to be Digivolve before you can actually bring it out and get it into play here. And this is going to add up quite nicely. I don't think either of these tamers are really being as good in this deck as they might sometimes be in some others. But I also don't really think that particularly matters. What we've got here is a really nice option card, which is going to help us out a lot. And we got tamers, which essentially allow us to play the option card, whilst also helping out quite a bit as well. And frankly, this is quite good, ladies and gentlemen. This is quite good. I love this deck. This is my kind of deck. I can't tell you it's going to be a great deck. All I can tell you at the moment is early results from Japan indicate that it's viable and that it's good. Exactly how good, whether it can be a real top-tier deck, we don't know that right now. But it won a 28-person tournament in Japan, which is not nothing. And hopefully this is going to keep winning and keep being good. And I get to keep talking about it and celebrating it because I like this deck. But I want to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section, would you? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wossy. That's where we talk Digimon and a whole bunch of other card games. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCGradio, where you can support the channel, get some bonus podcasts, and all kinds of fun things. But by far, the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching Wossy Plays.